or you can tweet at ANN7TV. Rekhomo, let's just start with you in terms of the build-up to elections. This is not the first of its kind that we've seen. Has this now become endemic with the nature of politics in the country?
Well, I think one has to situate KwaZulu-Natal in the broader South Africa, especially the ANC there in terms of the ANC national. The ANC in that province at KwaZulu-Natal is not just any other provincial structure. It's a very powerful voting bloc come to any election of the ANC. Therefore, it is very, very crucial and very, very powerful. And that power then resonates throughout the country. Anyone who would like to abuse the power of KZN, perhaps for whatever ulterior political ends, would normally nudge at that, so that if you destabilize KwaZulu-Natal, you eventually will destroy the ANC itself. And if there are people or elements that have got that agenda, probably this is the time that one has to actually ask questions. What are the root causes, and what is the driving force behind the whole thing? It will be very interesting as to what then Nhleko task team will actually then eventually uncover what it is.
Let's get a reaction from Dumiseni Ntuli. He is the ANC provincial spokesperson in KwaZulu-Natal. Just the description that Ubaba Khomo was giving us regarding the nature of KwaZulu-Natal being a strategic voting bloc for the ANC, and that this internal carbonalism, or, you know, it's like you imploding as the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. What do you make of these recent killings?
Well, thank you very much. I think first and foremost, we too, as the leadership of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, are deeply concerned about the escalation level of killing, very gruesome killing of our comrades and the cadres of the movement. It worries us, and it invokes the painful memories of the past, where we come from as a province, because we come from a past where the killing of our comrade was almost like the order of the day. And when this began early this year, and when we count the funerals we've attended of comrades who are brutally murdered, it raises a very difficult, present a very difficult situation to the organization. But I think the last point I want to make about what the earlier person in the studio had said is that, well, I don't think that the strategic nature of KwaZulu-Natal as a province is only as far as it becomes a voting bloc in the conferences of the ANC. What is more strategic about KZN is actually the fact that KZN is the only province of the African National Congress at the moment where there is a significant growth of our support, electoral support, whether it's a local government elections or else you talk about the national election. Even in the recent voter registration, KZN was #1, which indicates the enthusiasm and the energy of our people in support of the African National Congress.
Dumiseni, it's one thing to say you've increased your numbers in terms of the voter base, but what we're seeing, and comments made not only from party members, but the conventional wisdom is that this is a fight for political profit. This is that the politics is being used for self-advancement and greed. So how do you eradicate that to avoid any further loss of life?
Okay, first and foremost, what could be the sources of that? I think one of the sources of politics becoming a vehicle for personal gain and for personal enrichment would be the question of how, as a society, we are going through a difficult moment of inequality, which we all know about. As a result of which, any opportunity that appears, whether politically or at the business level, becomes a hugely contested terrain for those who are interested to better their lives. I think that is a broad analysis of our own situation, and I think it's a narrative that is shared by many people across the country. But the killing in KZN, the current killings that we are talking about, we have taken a view as an organization that first and foremost we need to attend to the political matters which are used as the basis, for instance, for discontent in the province, as a result of which it can then give an impression that the killing has got to do with that. But of course, we welcome the intervention by the Minister of Police that we must have a special team which is going to uncover the real reasons, the motive behind the killings, before we can make speculations which are not scientifically informed.
All right, Mary de Haas is a research fellow at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I believe we've just lost that link. We'll try and get hold of her again. Rhea Sitachi, just looking at these recent killings, is this a form of regulating the political participation through fear and victimization, so that even eligible candidates will not step forward to try and, for service delivery, etc.?
Well, I would like to carry on with what I started with earlier on, that the province of KwaZulu-Natal, if one says that if you destabilize it, you destabilize the ANC, probably those who would like to see the ANC fail, or those who would like to see regime change, as it is, looks like it's a project by some extra political forces out there, then they are on the right path, they believe, that actually they will be able to reach that stage. So the most worrying factor in this case is what actually is the root causes and what drives that. The investigation that is being mooted by Nhleko would probably be able to unearth that. But I would like to believe that for as long as we have got a project called regime change, which is being peddled by the forces which I would like to call them extra political forces, then you would always have people who would look at the strategic centers of the ANC, and I believe the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal is such strategic. If you destabilize that, you send a very good message that come 2017, the likelihood would be that if KZN ANC is weakened, then the outcome would therefore be in a certain way there come December 2017.
All right, Mary de Haas is back with us. She's a research fellow at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Thanks so much for your time, Mary. Just looking at the pattern of violence, particularly when it comes to elections, do you think that there's enough appreciation of the sacrosanct nature of democracy, that this is something that is hard fought for, and that battles should be fought at the ballot papers or at the polling stations as opposed through the barrel of a gun?
No, there's this big problem still. We've come a long way since 1994, but I mean, there's been instances in which, in one case, a popular ANC candidate, there was an attempt on his life in Muden near Greytown, and then the ANC was attacked. That was a kind of inter-party IFP-ANC thing. There's been a couple of NFP people killed. And then, of course, there's been half a dozen or more ANC people. But several ANC people killed. Sorry, I don't have my figures right here. And a lot of those killings are allegedly with tensions within the ANC. In a number of areas, people are exceedingly dissatisfied that councillors who have performed very badly are back on party lists. And there are tensions at the moment within the SACP and ANC, and also so also, of course, there's always going to be tensions, because the problem is too many people see elections, especially for councillors, as a way of getting a salary when they're unemployed. But the serious thing is that there are allegations in some branches that the whole voting procedure within the ANC was very irregular, and that comes from the comrades themselves. So it's all about resources, basically, and it may well get worse once the EFF starts campaigning in the province. And of course, because there's also talk in the province of ANC people standing as independent. So we're going to have to watch the situation very carefully, but I think you hit the nail on the head, that people just are not respecting the fact that you protest about things through the ballot box, and you do not use violence. I mean, we've had a lot of violent protest, like everywhere else, and some of that protest is very specifically linked to dissatisfaction with service delivery. So, I mean, the ANC needs to be searching itself about that, I think.
All right, Mary, just stay on the line. We have a caller, Michael in Pretoria, and Tinyiko in Malamulela. We're coming to you. Hi, Michael.
How are you, my sister?
I'm very well, sir. Thanks for asking.
Yes, my first question is really, I think about the issue about the killing of KwaZulu-Natal. I think, first of all, the issue should be ANC itself should be able to clean their house, because it seems as if their house are not in order. It does not help SAPS to go there and then protect the people while the house of ANC is not in order. People are losing their life for position. I mean, so many people are losing their life for position. Then my question is, why is only ANC people who are killing each other, not DA, no EFF? Every time it's ANC people that are killing each other. We then hear the story of EFF or DA killing each other.
Point well taken. Thank you so much, Michael. Let's give Tinyiko an opportunity as well. Hi, Tinyiko.
Hi, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Yes, I'm fine. Okay, this country it cannot stop this violence. It's us as members of the organization who can stop it by accepting to be led by the chosen ones. That's the problem. If we don't want to be led by the chosen ones, where comes the problem? So we have to accept someone to lead us. And accept.
Are you saying that it's a lack of discipline or wanting to push a personal agenda, that people would be disgruntled with the list of candidates because it doesn't reflect their preferred candidate?
No, it's a list of a discipline, lack of a discipline. I know, I'm there. I'm the member of African National Congress. I know what's happening.
Tinyiko, thanks so much. Let's just give it back to Dumiseni. The degradation of order in the ANC itself in KwaZulu-Natal, what are you doing about it? Saying that, Tinyiko saying that members are disgruntled, and that's where most of the violence will come because of desperation of wanting to have your preferred candidate.
Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to highlight that maybe to state the obvious, the ANC is the biggest organization in our country and the biggest organization in our province. And of course, it is not an organization that is made up of angels. It has got within its own ranks those who may be wanting to subvert internal processes of the movement in order to advance their own interest. But I don't think that it is correct for Michael, your earlier caller, to make a statement so conclusively that members of the ANC are killing one another. I think if he has done some work that has made him to come to that conclusion, it would be interesting that he can share that information with the ANC leadership and equally with the police, because we are all concerned about the killing, but we do not want to make conclusions that undermine the work that must be done by law enforcement agencies to conclude that these killings are purely members of the ANC killing one another. The last point I just want to mention is that I think there is a broader question here, which Michael and others seem to be not appreciating. The earlier issue that was raised about the regime change. How this manifests itself is that you create an environment where the state is delegitimized, the organization that is at the helm of the South African Revolution and therefore the leader of the state is also painted as a house that is in huge turmoil and in huge crisis. KwaZulu-Natal has got more than 875 branches of the ANC, and the problems we are talking about are happening probably within 10, if not 15% of the branches of the ANC. But to go on the national TV and declare that to be a huge national crisis or a crisis of the province, I think it's a bit out of line. It's a matter that we're all concerned about, we're worried about, but I don't think it must suggest that the ANC has therefore lost control of itself.
All right, Vusi, you're calling us from Soweto. Hello.
Cindy, you know the ANC as we know it, okay? We lost that ANC a long time ago. We lost it in Polokwane when they used the Polokwane to settle their own personal differences, when they used the presidency to settle their own personal differences. That's when you lost the ANC. The ANC you have now is made up of people who are in politics to serve their own personal interest. They are pursuing their own personal interest. Secondly, most of them are unemployable elsewhere. So politics become a matter of life and death. So this is why we're experiencing these things in South Africa, you know. And it's very sad because they've come a long way. They've done whatever they have done for this country. Acknowledge that. But probably it's time that people need to move on with their lives and realize that that ANC is no longer more. It's dead, that ANC. Thanks.
All right, Vusi, thanks so much. The ideology from what Vusi is saying in terms of where the ANC had the principles of stewardship and servitude for the people, by the people, and it wasn't for self-enrichment. He's suggesting that this is not the same ANC it used to be.
Well, I think it is misdirected to say that. It is also misdirected for anyone to suggest that the killings is caused by the internal politics of the ANC. It's far broader than that, is far more complex. I think the ANC itself knows that they have got challenges in terms of the coming elections. They've got also challenges in ensuring that there is that cohesiveness within it, etc. What I would like to also say is that it is indeed a very worrying thing, a very worrying development that KZN will time and again have this type of challenges where killings have to happen. I think it is a very big worry for the entire nation that the ANC, a very important organ of the ANC, a very important province of the ANC, has to undergo this pain. But I think they will be able to rise above that as long as they are able to understand what are the dynamics that impact on the developments within the ANC, that actually then make a cadre fight over one another. I don't believe it is an internal thing. It is something that is orchestrated from somewhere else in the project of regime change.
All right, let's just explore the regime change theory, Dumiseni, with the faceless third force, or the alleged third force of trying to destabilize the country by going to its nerve center, as it were. Policing in this regard should not be difficult because you know who your preferred candidate lists are, and those people generally should have a safety net around them so that we can prevent any future killings. What plans do you have in ensuring that this level of destabilization is curbed?
Well, I think the most important thing, which we have taken to heart as the leadership of the ANC in KZN, is that, one, we have to unite the organization. We have to ensure that comrades who are not happy, which is what we have been doing throughout this process, so comrades who are not happy are given sufficient time to express their views to be considered objectively, and the conclusion be made in the best interest of our people and the ANC. That is the first step that becomes a condition to ensure that we defeat the agenda for regime change. Because if you don't deal with that, then the discontent within the ANC will be manipulated by forces that are not interested in the ANC, which is what we are seeing now, where a process of the ANC will be conducted democratically, transparently, and later on, people who are not happy about it will resort to taking into the street, some of them not necessarily members of the ANC, but people who are on their way out of the ANC, who wants to leave an ANC that is hugely destabilized, an ANC that is almost collapsing in their wards, so that they declare themselves as saint and alternatives that must be elected as ward candidates and therefore to become councillors in their wards. That's why our message to the ANC members is that that which makes us to be disagreeing must be confronted within our own revolutionary conduct and ensure that we resolve it in the best interest of the movement, which is because the unit of the ANC becomes sacrosanct for the unit of our people to take South Africa to the next step.
All right, Jonas in Limpopo, hello to you. Thanks for your patience. And what's your question or comment?
It's my comment basically. I just want to refer to Non-Jumi's comment to say regime change, because now when it comes to regime change, you cannot say it's a regime change whereas it's ANC people who are actually fighting in within. You just changed the premiers now. Now you can think of the repercussions that actually came with that. Obviously, there's a force that came with Senzo Mchunu, and then the other ones went out. So there are a lot of parties which are not actually happy with the whole process. Hence, now they are infighting. So we cannot say it's a regime change. It's internal problems that the ANC is actually facing that it needs to deal with. That has happened in Mpumalanga. It was ANC. There was never any investigation of the political killings. But now, because it's happening at the focal point of ANC, that's when now you're starting to investigate. The problem is within the party.
All right, Jonas. Point taken. Thanks for your call. The factionalism is often downplayed by the ANC in the sense that, you know, if you suggest a regime change, we're very ill at ease in mentioning names and which factions are necessarily involved in this. But there needs to be a clear stance, a strong stance that deals with these issues at grassroots level so that people don't express their dissatisfaction through violence.
Well, the ANC, everybody knows that it operates in terms of structures, internal structures that deals with every issue that any member has. One would like to believe that if and only if there are very serious issues within the ANC KwaZulu-Natal, there are structures, there are processes, there are systems that are put into place in terms of which grievances and complaints of people can be dealt with. It is an oversimplification by a caller to suggest that there are all these things that are happening are indicative of the ANC fighting itself. There is no such a thing. I would like to insist and maintain the stance that it is mainly the forces that would like to see a regime change in South Africa or caring that are actually at play, and they know that the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal is the strongest bloc when it comes to conferences and voting at conference of the ANC. And therefore, destabilizing it is strategic for them because it advances their agenda towards the required regime change. I insist on that.
Dumisani, don't you playing into the hands of the opposition here by showing a disenfranchised or fragmented front? We even had some of our callers saying that the ANC needs to clean house and introspect because your constituencies are the ones that you are accountable to.
Well, first and foremost, we are not avoiding internal problems. The ANC, as I said earlier on, is a very big organization, and therefore it is inevitable that it will from time to time have to deal with some of the weaknesses amongst many of its members within its own rank and files. But I think it's important that we do not become simplistic about that. The problems that the ANC faces today are problems that the ANC has gone through in the past many years ago, some of which were worse than this. The key question that must preoccupy all of us, what is it that now makes it difficult for people to accept what usually is a common cause of how to resolve internal problems within an organization? I think your earlier caller seems to be very simplistic in a sense that he implies that the arrival of a regime change will probably land in one airport, either in King Shaka or in OR Tambo, and the red carpet will be rolled out for them, and some drum major be played to indicate that here is the regime change proponents have arrived in the country. It doesn't work like that. What happens is that you create a discontent within the organization. You plant a level of dissatisfaction that is not resolvable in order to ensure that you create an environment of a delegitimized and a discredited state that is weak, that is incapable of containing its own affairs, as a result of which it can then be susceptible to external invasion. So
Dumisani, we're going to have to leave it there. I'm afraid we're out of time. We're running late for business. I really apologize for interrupting you there. I'm under pressure as we speak, but we're speaking to Dumisani Ntuli. He's the ANC provincial spokesperson in KwaZulu-Natal. And in studio, Resitagi Khomo is an independent political analyst. And Merida Haas on the line is a research fellow at UKZN talking about this debate. Thanks indeed again for making the call. We're back after this.